Some of you in this crowd have heard me speak before, but I'm going to make one thing very clear. I don't sugarcoat anything because they all want us dead. Telling me how they were called a neo-Nazi, a fascist, an anti-Semite, a racist, a homophobe, or any of these other words. And that's ultimately what this name calling is. It's a word. In 2025, people who use these words have no power, and we don't care what we're called. This infighting in the conservative movement is obnoxious. And the so-called leaders of the Republican Party are losing the youth's interest when they act like high school girls. But ultimately, you cannot attack students who wear the armor of God. How are you handling the hate, and what can I do for you? The majority of my students ask for prayer, and they say they know their heart posture, they know they're standing for their conservative beliefs and their faith, and God is the one to judge them. I want to remind you that politics doesn't get us into heaven. Politics doesn't give us eternal life. So we can sit and talk about politics, you can vote for candidates, you can go door knocking, but unless you wake up every morning saying that Christ is King, everything you do is pointless. You can knock 1,000 doors, but if you're not talking about Jesus, that doesn't matter. If you're putting politics over your faith and you work harder to door knock than you do to live a biblical lifestyle, you're missing the point. Christ is King, not Trump, not Netanyahu, not your representatives, but Christ is King of the world, and he ought to be King of the country. Amen. But it's not just the leftist indoctrination. There are many sitting Republicans who have told us for the past 5 years to not trust the government and to put an emphasis on free thinking. But now that it's 2025, God forbid you question Donald Trump or the administration and all hell breaks loose. Because when you force an ideology down our throat, no matter who's pushing it, we will not listen to you. As you are about to see, the Overton window is shifting, and this is what the boomers fear. Sorry, the $800 million sent to Ukraine and the $600 million to Israel that our government just signed off on. This is not America first, and this is not what conservatives voted for. If Trump and Congress do not drop the foreign aid handouts, there's going to be a big problem in the midterms. Gen Z is not putting up with this. Secondly, they are running on the same campaigns that every single Republican does, and they have nothing new to offer us. Republicans have an awfully horrific track record. Our government wants to conserve foreign nations above conserving America. Our politicians talk about being an anti-welfare state, but we're providing that exact same thing for Israel and Ukraine. The midterms are not looking good for Republicans, and at this point, I don't even care what Republicans do. They need to lose so they can learn how to listen to what the people want, not what their handlers are telling them. We are the next generation of leaders, and we will take down every single neocon boomer. But when we have pedophiles and youth GOP groups, they're referring to Georgia, Republicans lied about the Epstein files, Trump said he was going to end all the wars, that clearly hasn't happened. Even in my small town, I don't feel safe walking around because of the immigration and all the recent attacks on women. Practically all American politicians are becoming more and more bought and sold rather than accurately representing those values of those who elected them. Nick Fuentes, but he has become popular with the youth because he keeps seeing the real and is willing to criticize and question authority. Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes are the only conservative pundits who understand the youth, and that's why they're growing in popularity. I don't really listen to political figures, but there's a reason why certain people have been banned from the internet, and it's because they're telling the truth. I won't name names, but I listen to someone who is not the disease, like most say. He is a symptom of how others act. I used to admire Ben Shapiro, but he seems to not care about Americans anymore. He said that if you can't afford to own a home, you should move. It's hard to listen to anyone. Everyone repeats the same ideas and nobody has original thoughts. Ban dual citizenship and Miriam Adelson. It is not that we don't care about Israel, it's we wish countries who don't benefit America shouldn't be getting any money unless it's in the form of a loan. I can't tell you one time Israel or Ukraine has been a benefit to us. America first. But actually America first. Not Trump's version, not Ted Cruz's version, or not Randy Fine's idea of America first. America only. I believe as an American I deserve to go to a top university opposed to one of the 600,000 Chinese immigrants that Trump invited over. I want no immigration whatsoever. My country doesn't look like the one my parents were raised in. Israel knows that Americans have an issue with their government, so they are trying to buy companies to redirect and control thought and perception. If the conversation isn't about what's happening here in the United States, it's about Israel. Abolish AIPAC and make them register under FARA. I want to combat feminism. As a young girl, I feel my duty here on earth is to raise children and be healthy. I thought RFK was going to make America healthy again. I don't know what happened with that. My older sister just had a baby and the doctors were trying to force her to vaccinate her baby immediately. Everyone is super unhealthy, and it's so sad to go outside and see obesity boom right in your face. Everyone keeps dying for being white. It doesn't matter who you vote for, the elites are just gonna do whatever they want. I don't really have a desire to vote because my life under Trump is no different than it was under Biden. Gas is still expensive and there's still a plethora of immigrants in our country. I wouldn't vote for a Democrat because of what they ultimately stand for. None of their policies make sense. But Republicans aren't committing to their principles. Thomas Massey is the only person I will vote for, and I will proudly write him in for 2028. I would vote for a Democrat if they weren't a Muslim and cared to end foreign influence. I'll vote for whoever doesn't take AIPAC money. My ideal ticket in 28 is Massey and Rand Paul. Marco Rubio is why we're at war with Venezuela. If voting for a Democrat means I have to pay more for rent and groceries once I move out of my parents' house, if they won't sell us out to Israel and cover up pedophiles, I'll vote for Democrat. I will always vote Republican, but J.D. Vance is just going to run on the same campaign as Trump, and look where that got us. I did ask my students if they think Trump is fulfilling his promises in campaign. I think Trump is committing to half of his promises. I don't care much for blowing stuff up in the Middle East and going for foreign peace deals or even immigration. We can still help other countries once we take care of our own issues, but I still see homeless veterans, and I see people struggling to afford the basics. If Trump spent less time renaming the Department of Defense to the Department of War and worrying about the Gulf of America, I think we would be in a much better place. Trump lied about Epstein. Most Republicans tried to hide it. Take note of that. 50-year mortgages. What is happening? Gulf of America, but Minneapolis looks like Somalia. Good job, guys. Not sure if we can blame Trump on this or not, but I see homeless people pooping on the side of the streets. Trump is a joke, and you can't blame me. I was 50 and I couldn't vote. Trump ran on a campaign of deportations, and he's simply not fulfilling his promise. That's why the ICE Instagram is making edits of deporting people to compensate for their lack of doing their job. I'm sick and tired of this "are you winning yet" rhetoric. We aren't winning anything. I believe that we're becoming more of a Christian nation as far as the youth. The kids are seeking Christ, and I believe it'll carry into the future if they continue to pursue. I believe that women should be homemakers first, and in this economy, it's practically impossible to live off of one income. How are mothers supposed to raise 5 kids on a single income of $7,000? This drives women back into the workforce, which is extremely toxic. There is a revival happening with young people, but they need to be even more vocal. I don't really understand why we have self-proclaimed Christians in office, but they stand more for Jews in Israel than they do for Christians in America. Without structured religion in our nation, there is no morality. Muhammad married a 6-year-old, so yes, I don't want people here who worship that. We are 100% a Christian nation. We can't punish those for not being Christian, but we shouldn't tolerate any other religion taking over it. They didn't hold back. Now you have a clear picture of who Gen Z really is. Although not all of my students can vote right now, they'll be able to in the next upcoming presidential election, and as the years develop, my students will become more outraged, they're going to become more passionate, and they're going to be reading more influential texts, speeches, and books. They'll soon run for office and kick out every single one of these neocons who are still enacting policies that benefit nobody but themselves. My students don't want to become Randy Fine, Mark Levine, or Ted Cruz. My generation is sick and tired of the same narrative that we've been force-fed our whole entire lives, and nothing has changed. That's great that our president only recognizes male and female, but some of our students aren't getting into college because Trump is putting Chinese students over Americans. It's fantastic that you can now go and visit the Gulf of America, but our nation is fat and autistic. You can talk about winning female sports, but tell me why there was a man competing on the females volleyball team at Skyline High School here in Michigan. Our government spends more time trying to ban anti-Semitism and hate speech than they do trying to ban porn and sex trafficking. Our government is allowing sanctuary cities in Florida for pedophiles just blocks away from children's daycare, but thank gosh Donald Trump is fighting Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massey. Thank you, Trump. And regarding Michigan, we would all really appreciate a governor who's not only going to fight for the businesses and the families, but for the students who live here. Just because a 16-year-old can't vote and they're not in college yet doesn't mean policy doesn't affect them. It is illegal to purchase raw milk in Michigan unless you buy a share of a cow, but every day I open Instagram on the Metro Detroit page, another person is dead. Another shooting took place. There's a fight at a gas station, and we all know who the problem is. And guess what? Nobody's doing anything about it. I would appreciate if my students can walk around the city without fearing they're going to get stabbed in the neck by an immigrant or a savage animal who should be given the death penalty. No Michigander wants a data center in Southfield, and we certainly don't want Novi residents working for Palantir. I would really appreciate it if my younger students could learn how to drive on roads that aren't crumbling where they have to act like a drunk driver swerving between the lanes. Thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of the youth this evening. I know this was a lot, and a lot of you guys probably didn't want to hear what the youth had to say, but this is how we feel. Ultimately, we're no longer caring about how you feel, though. It doesn't matter. It's time we stopped letting neocons advocate for our country and allow the students who haven't been bred by Peter Thiel to take the lead. America does not wish its interests to be determined and controlled by any foreign nation. India to the Indians, Somalia to the Somalians, and America to the Americans. We want Christ back in our country, and as Trump once said, I don't know what happened, our plan will be to put America first. Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo. As long as we are led by politicians who will not put America first, then we can be assured that other nations will not treat America with respect, the respect that we deserve. Thank you all.